Hey there, card folk! Speedrobo here, and welcome to today's episode of Blitz Brawl. Joining me on commentary is the always wonderful Moonfassa. How you doing, pal?
Doing good. Good to be here. How about yourself?
I am having an excellent day, getting work done on Legacy's Allure and watching some games, and here we are in Blitz with Dex down on red and Gravy up on blue. Dex is playing a Kaladrix list and Gravy is playing Aurelia, with Dex being the attacker and Gravy being the defender. Give me some high-level analysis here.
Well, we are right in the thick of it, right off the bat. Players starting with their equipment and their abilities right off the bat. In draft, or in Blitz, that's typically what you want to do because, I mean, these are always going to be drafted. But we got double healers from Dex here and double Bull Elk. Lots of consistency over on this side, and Gravy looks like he's also going for consistency and perhaps some symmetry as well. I am liking what I'm seeing with the Battering Ram and the Grand Wizard. That's a very neat teleport combo. Excited to see that pop off.
I don't know how I feel about these crossbowmen right in the front line. That seems kind of like hunter food to me. That might be a problem for Gravy, honestly.
I think they're fine, especially with these enforcers protecting them, because the hunters don't get to attack these crossbowmen in these positions. They have to be moved with only one Deepwood Sentinel that that Dex has brought here. And then the enforcer can just counter by disabling it.
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting point. I think there's a general lack of maneuverability from the Sylvan list here today, which we generally don't see. Dex is very much focused on his aggression.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Deepwood Sentinel's one of, well, I think it's the best card in the game.
Yeah. Gravy's build, though, I really do like the Battering Ram Grand Wizard combo, as you mentioned. Grand Wizard, the ability to teleport Battering Ram, is not something players can take lightly. That 5 damage and push is a super strong ability that's generally balanced out by Battering Ram's low movement, but you pair that up with Grand Wizard's teleport, and all of a sudden, Battering Ram has some of the best movement in the game. So, Dex is going to have to watch out for that.
He's got to be super careful about this. And typically with this type of list, if Gravy can manage to out-action Dex, he can save his teleport and Battering Ram as his last actions, and then just pick whatever units he wants to kill on the end of the round.
Yep.
Though we will have to wait till round 2.
Yeah, well, and he does have to wait till round 2 because of Grand Wizard, and the other thing that I will say is that out-actioning Sylvan is not easy at all.
It's not, although we see Dex has gone a little tall with the double Bull Elk. We've got a Norfang Champion, some expensive stuff. Kaladrix is pretty pumped up. And we're not running Anwin, who's just a amazing action lackey.
Yeah, Anwin herself, you can just put 1 gold on her, and then it's just like, 2 free actions, whatever. It doesn't even matter what her ability is. You could just take her for the actions. Kaladrix, though, I think is one of the scariest heroes. The flanker hero, to be sure. And, him getting near the Grand Wizard could be another issue that Gravy has to consider.
Yeah.
But luckily, he brought Aurelia to help protect his squishier units.
Yep, and because there's so many crossbowmen here, Gravy's gonna have to be super careful about how he positions everything. Because this Kaladrix, with Blade Echo 3, he can get some real big AoE bursts off in the future.
Yeah. And Gravy decides to just go ahead and finish his draft. He knew roughly where all of his units were going to be placed ahead of time, and that's one thing that I like about Blitz, is that it makes the game first phase, the drafting phase, go by much quicker, because generally when you have a Blitz list, you kind of know where you're going to be putting everything, no matter what your opponent does. And that's an element that
Definitely, yeah. And we do see that Gravy has 2 more actions than Dex here.
And here we go into the battle phase. Right off the bat, Sylvan Classic swap Kaladrix up 1 position.
Really important to note about this, that is the Deepwood Sentinel being tapped out. Gravy no longer has to worry about any movement shenanigans. All of the movement numbers that are on each of Dex's creatures are as printed on the card now. So I think Gravy's pretty happy about that, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly, I would be as well, though it does make Kaladrix kind of scary with that True Strike Blade Echo. He could just run Kaladrix in right now. The Solar Aegis going down on the Aurelia, I think, is really smart because it prevents the full Blade Echo going into the Royal Griffin, the Aurelia, and the Battering Ram.
Yeah.
And now the best Kaladrix can do is either get the Battering Ram and Aurelia, or the Griffin and Aurelia.
Yeah, it's a little bit more awkward now. Yeah, so what is Dex going to be looking at here?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe just trying to get your Glade Hawks into a position to take out Priest, Tactician, or Spellcradle Seraph next round. Gonna move up the Hunter by 1. Moonfassa, you're like the best player in the world. What do you think about that move? Because I don't know what's going on.
I'm a little bit scared about moving up too far because Gravy just has so much here. So like I talked about with the Sentinel being used up in the start, Dex, Gravy no longer has to worry about extra mobility. Dex does have to worry about extra mobility because this Tactician still exists. And this can give +1 movement to anything. Well, not anything, it's only got 2 range. But as the board opens up, it's gonna be pretty much anything.
Yeah, and it's combinable as well with that 2 movement, so the only thing that couldn't get... It's the Enforcer, the Shieldbearer, and the Crossbowman down on the I column are the only 3 cards that can't get that +1 movement.
Yeah, that's a lot of mobility. So like, Dex has to consider here that each of these creatures, it might say 2 movement on them, 3 movement, but he has to imagine that they're all at +1 movement. We see the Tactician coming down here now, though, potentially.
Yep.
But that's always something you have to consider with mobility creatures like this, is it doesn't just give +1 movement to one creature, it gives the threat of giving +1 movement to every creature.
Ooh, he decided to go for not the movement, but the power instead. That makes the Royal Griffin 4 power.
Right.
So if anything comes within Royal Griffin's attack range, it can get hit for a double strike of 4, total of 8 damage. That could theoretically take out any unit on this board.
Yeah, I think he's trying to target this Norfang Champion here. That seems like the only real 4-life target worth taking.
I agree with that, and honestly, keeping the Norfang Champion away makes a lot of sense to me, as the Norfang Champion could prove to be a huge problem long-term with all these smaller, squishier units that Gravy brought to the table today.
Yeah. He's got 3 backline units with 1 HP, which, if these 1 damage pings comes and takes like the shields and stuff, these Glade Hawks can also do some damage alongside the Norfang Champion, so seems like a reasonable move.
Shieldbearer activating to protect the Priest from exactly what we were just talking about.
Yeah. Gonna protect his most important unit in this match, that healer.
Yes. You always want to protect your healers, if possible in this game, mostly as debuff removal. If you don't bring debuff removal in Legacy's Allure, you're generally going to have a really hard time, I've found.
Yeah.
And so even in builds where I don't necessarily need it, I still normally bring one way to remove at least 1 debuff.
They often think of healers as just being healing, but this debuff removal is honestly a lot bigger a solution, in my opinion. Like this Norfang Sorcerer we see on Dex's side, this can do a lot of damage just by rooting a unit. That shuts down an entire unit for the entire round, and that's pretty huge. Or even the summons.
I completely agree. Getting to choose one of your opponent's units and just steal its action for the round is devastating. That's what Priest is here to solve.
Looks like Dex is potentially hovering the center. He could move a Bull Elk there pretty easily, but I think he wants to use the Bull Elk as attackers.
I think Glade Hawk to center.
I'm not a big fan because it puts it in threat range of Crossbowmen really easily.
Yeah, but then you can kill the Crossbowmen.
You can, but you gotta think about the end of round as well and what's gonna happen at the end of round. Like, are you actually going to be using your Bull Elks to go center or your Norfang Champion to go center? I don't know.
That's true.
So what is this? Cast range potentially? Probably.
Cast range makes sense because then Arcane Blast. Oh yeah, because then Arcane Blast has 4 range, and that it's gonna do a lot. Now Bull Elk, Kaladrix, and the Great Hunter are all in range to get blasted.
Yeah, Gravy positioned his Grand Wizard in a more aggressive spot than I think most players play it. Usually you put it backwards in one of the back spaces to protect him, but because you get to know all of your opponent's units right off the bat in draft, you have a lot more luxury in your positioning of creatures.
Exactly. The Blitz mode really lets you play more aggressively, hence the name. That's why Blitz is my personal favorite mode. I like it. It's just
nice and speedy.
Relaxing. It's nice and speedy and relaxing for me,
Yeah.
you know? Like, I love the draft mode when I'm like, all right, it's tournament day, let's go. Let's really, you know, put the brain on full blast, crunch some numbers. But when I'm hanging out with the boys, we normally just blitz it up.
Exactly, yeah. It's a good time. Something I want to point out here is Dex just locked in a Bull Elk in a defensive position. Now this takes away Norfang Champion's ability to take the center, whatever takes this Glade Hawk. I think that's pretty important because you're taking away options for the future of the round. And now the second Bull Elk coming out. So like I mentioned, he might not have any answers to what takes this Glade Hawk here. I think that's just going to be a free take near the end of the round.
Gravy executing the Legacy's Allure 101 strategy of when in doubt, skip with a unit. If you don't know what to do and nothing you have is under threat, generally just sort of hanging back and making a couple passive moves, especially during round 1, can really pan out. And Dex right now is just setting up a defensive chess-like V formation where his pieces are guarding his other pieces.
Yeah, and I think this is great by Gravy. He's not overextending. He hasn't moved a single unit past the blue border. And I think a large reason for that is because he wants to be able to access teleport on round 2. So round 1's kind of a passive round anyways. But also...
I normally... Yeah, no, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, also, Dex is playing into Gravy's things. Like, Gravy has a lot of mobility here and range on all of his stuff. So, if he allows Dex to come to him, I think he's got a big advantage.
I agree. And what I was going to say is, in round 1 of this game, I normally compare it to, like, the first opening turns of a normal war game with miniatures and dice and tape measures, right? Where you start off on opposite sides of the table and you have to like slowly scoot your pieces up forward and feel out your opponent, right? And round 1 in Legacy's Allure, because it is a war game, has similar elements to that where players are moving and positioning and counter positioning.
Right.
And Grand Wizard coming in with a huge Arcane Blast, shooting straight through Kaladrix's Wurmscale Mail armor. His armor does not affect magic damage. Kaladrix has 1 HP left.
And guess what? Aurelia's got a Sunstrike lined up, so this can't even be healed because Deepwood Mystic can only heal for 2 That puts Kaladrix on 3 life.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Kaladrix is guaranteed dead.
Not guaranteed. You can silence, well, then he gets healed. You can run the Kaladrix away. That's about all you can do. But...
no, you can't run Kaladrix away. Sunstrike's global.
Oh, right. Right, yeah. He's forced to just hit in here. You can't... Right.
He's push damage. That's it. That's all he can do right now.
Yeah, that hurts a lot.
That is huge. Dex should have moved Kaladrix away from the Grand Wizard when he had the chance.
Yeah, and now he doesn't even need to use,
Sunstrike. He can just use the Royal Griffin. And that means that the Royal Griffin's first action was an attack, and now its second action can be an attack and take the Glade Hawk.
That is true. I kind of prefer the Crossbowman taking the Glade Hawk, in all honesty. I would have liked the Royal Griffin to be taking, like, the Great Hunter or something.
Yeah.
But,
Ooh,
I think...
This is big. The debuff remover from Gravy is now tapped. So this Norfang Sorcerer can do whatever it needs to do and make it happen.
Yeah. I don't know if it's as impactful anymore, but maybe we can silence Aurelia.
Silence Aurelia or root the Griffin.
Yeah, could be a thing. It's probably fine, to be honest, if the Griffin trades in. Like, this Glade Hawk's dead no matter what, so if the Griffin trades in, then it's in range of, like, more of your stuff, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah.
Glade Hawk gonna move up and just... Wow. Really throwing a lot of things into trade range of these crossbowmen. I think that might hurt in the long game, where you're gonna lose all of these pawn-like pieces. I know they're only pawns, but they add up.
They do, and you know, in my former chess days, I've lost many a game off of a single pawn advantage. You know, my opponent takes one pawn on me, and I'm thinking, it's just a pawn, nothing to worry about. And then we just keep trading evenly and trading evenly and trading evenly, and then at the end, it's my king versus his king and a pawn, and I lose.
Yeah, pawns are not nothing, and look at this. This crossbowman is still, like, super protected by the Enforcer, by the other crossbowmen, and this Norfang Hunter can't really do anything about it. Although he moved this one up. That seems like a safe-ish trade. I guess Aurelia is still in range.
I think it's good, because now, you know, that Norfang Great Hunter is just getting Sunstriked.
Right. Yeah, that's what the crossbowman ping was for. Yeah, I didn't even pay attention to that. Unless Gravy wants to go first. I think we just take out some free units here, get better positioning.
I just want to get the free. I think free is good.
Free is good.
Gravy, though, he's thinking about just ending the round. Which, what does going first do for him? Oh, it lets his Royal Griffin go to town.
Yeah, if you take that Satyr, then you're threatening... Well, you're not threatening that much.
I still kind of like it, though.
Puts threat on the Sentinel, so he has to do something, I guess.
Yeah.
I kind of preferred taking extra positioning, taking out a free unit, but we'll see how this goes. Maybe Gravy's got something spicy up his sleeve.
Well, considering he hasn't, you know, let the move rip yet, maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm excited to see what Gravy does with this.
He was hovering potentially the teleport, but do something with Aurelia.
Solar Aegis. Oh, Solar Aegis is the Griffin.
Right? That would make sense. Then there's really no options to deal with it.
Yeah, there's at that point there would be nothing that...
I guess the Satyr still works. Like, you can, like, move the Griffin back.
Yeah?
Nope, just gonna go for...
He's just gonna take it. He's just gonna take it. I like it.
Yeah, put some pressure on that Sentinel at least.
I think it's a good ultimately.
It's a lot of gold, but I guess you still have Aegis open, right? So even if Griffin takes a little poke here, you can Aegis it immediately.
Yep, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm looking at. Because nothing one-shots this Griffin.
Yeah, and that's pretty important. One-shotting's a big thing.
Dex losing his hero in round 1.
The big hero,
that's
too.
huge. That's
got,
huge.
like...
It was such an expensive hero. It's not like Aurelia, who has, what, 2 gold invested in on her?
Yeah, 3 gold there. Kaladrix got like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 gold. Yikes.
Yeah.
I also would have loved to move the Enforcers up, but maybe I'm more of an aggressive player.
Okay, putting 4 damage on Bull Elk with Arcane Blast? No, maybe?
This is the thing, Gravy has so many options, because...
Gravy does, but if Gravy... I don't know, man. Maybe he should have thought this through before just saying, yeah, I guess I'll go first. This is all it's all I'm saying, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Alright, we're locked in the Royal Griffin play. I do think that that's for the best.
Good enough. One thing that new players, I think, struggle at least to conceptualize is when to full pass and take the first move, or when to use your units. And often when you have like a ton of units open, just move them into better positions. The positioning is often way better. If you only have like a couple of units left, that can be a better option to full pass. But if you have a ton of units, you're giving up a lot of positioning. That's a neat little take.
Yeah, I like that. And honestly, that is some really good advice that I needed to hear as well, because knowing when to pass and when not is something that even I still struggle with, and I've won tournaments.
Yeah, it's tough, especially at a high competitive level, because you have to really think about how the next round is going to go. Not just the next move, but the next round as a whole. You have to think about everything. Interesting.
And as you know, this is a high competitive level game. Both of these players are incredibly skilled, and there's a lot of bragging rights on the line as well.
You're watching the best in the world.
Except for Moonfassa, who's here.
You flatter me too much. Really interesting that the Deepwood Sentinel wasn't saved here. Dex just kind of said, I'll trade for the Seraph. And like I said, I'm still on board with Sentinel as like the best card in the game. I think that Gravy's perfectly fine with this, especially since the Seraph I don't think does a lot anymore in this matchup. Like that +1 cast range was nice to take.
Seraph already did its job, you know.
Yeah.
And this is something I really don't like, is that's a 4 gold hunter that traded for a 3 gold crossbowman. I don't like that at all. Yeah. I really don't.
Surprised the Squire didn't immediately. I guess he wanted to save his crossbowman. Fair enough.
Sure.
Not disarming.
I think. Yeah, disarming maybe, but. Okay, we're putting 1 damage on the Royal Griffin, so that the Bull Elk can theoretically take that.
And you're just allowing it to happen.
I would have Solar Aegis that.
Unfortunately, he's out of range to be able to Solar Aegis and get the +1 action.
Yeah, that's fine though.
So, I don't mind it because we want to take out this Bull Elk probably. We're probably going to see a teleport to take out the Bull Elk, I would imagine.
Can we do it cheaper? No, teleport's 1 mana. I was thinking Arcane Blast, but yeah, the teleport's probably better, isn't it? Like,
yeah. I mean, Bull Elk seems fine.
Yeah, I'd just take the Bull Elk at this point. Battering Ram is better in matchups where the opponent has a lot of units on the board to trigger domino effect pushes.
Yeah. You know what's super cool that I just realized? Because that Seraph is dead, you can't give +1 spell power to the Battering Ram to one-shot the Bull Elk anymore.
That's true, but you know how you one-shot the Bull Elk? You just push it off the map.
Right, yeah, you can just do that. Simple.
Yep.
Who needs numbers when we can just push them off the map?
Okay, see, now this is interesting.
Giving an option here, I mean, that's just a free take for Aurelia, though, is it not? We've got Tactician, +1 power.
Aurelia doesn't have charging.
Oh, he didn't pick up charging. Yeah, I always just assume Aurelia has charging.
Everybody just assumes that, you know, you just grab the,
Oh. Wait. Okay.
Yeah, Arcane Blast Aurelia takes good.
I mean, I much prefer the teleport, I think. I guess you can move the battering... No, I mean, I much prefer the teleport. Like, what disadvantage is it? You just save 1 mana, right? Because you can teleport Battering Ram to D5. You don't have to move the Battering Ram, which means it's already threatening the champion anyways. Like, Gravy... I can see what Gravy's trying to do. He wants to threaten the champion. But teleporting to D5 does the exact same job for cheaper.
Yeah, I get the concept. Okay, so here was something else cool that happened that I wanted people to note. Tactician does not have allied pathing or pathing, so how did Tactician move through Shieldbearer? Because Tactician used combinable tactics to give it self-pathing and then move.
Yeah, pretty clever.
And I think that is very funny.
Saving it from
so Priest just gets taken by the champion.
Yeah. Did we do a ping? Oh yeah, they really had a shield.
Yep.
Now imagine if that Battering Ram was on D5 protecting the Priest. Because that Priest had a shield.
You're right. The teleport was better. I'm wrong. I completely own up to that. You are 100% correct on that. And that's a silence on the Grand Wizard. With no Priest to remove it. Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Now this Battering Ram's a lot slower than he used to be.
Yeah.
Still have 2 healers for Dex.
Yeah.
Thinking about just shooting it with the Grand Wizard, he's kind of useless, so might as well.
That makes sense. Crossbowman first, though. Like, sure.
Crossbowman first. He wants to see where this Great Hunter's gonna end up. Maybe he wants to shoot that instead.
That makes sense.
Yeah, there are the healers. I mean, Gravy still has so many more actions. He could just tap out Dex instead of throwing in his Crossbowman and stuff right now.
Yeah, I think that was probably the way to go, is just bide your time. We're gonna remove the debuff from the Great Hunter, but now the Great Hunter... nothing happens to it, actually, because the Grand Wizard's silenced. Never mind.
Can't shoot, because that Great Hunter's not tapped. That Crossbowman will deal 0 damage.
Crossbowman, no, 0 damage.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
I'm letting them know.
Yeah, I forget that sometimes.
I always just assume Crossbowman has 2 power, but no, its ability is what makes it have 2 power. If it attacks an exhausted unit, it gains +1 power. That's a very important thing about that card.
Yeah.
And is why Crossbowman feels super overpowered, but it's really not, because it's not a 2-1-2-2
Yeah.
charging. It's a 1-1-2-2 charging that conditionally gets that extra power.
Yeah, and with this Evasion 1, that's gonna equate to 0 damage, unfortunately, for Gravy. He really wants to use this Crossbowman. I think just pass with it, or like move it somewhere else. Move it, tuck it in next to Aurelia.
Yeah, that's probably for the best. What is Battering Ram doing?
I'm not sure. I really like I don't want to waste the action here. That's another thing to keep in mind when playing. Oh, Solar Aegis.
Solar Aegis on the Enforcer, why?
I guess you could yeah, I forgot about Aegis. You could have Aegis the Crossbowman.
Yeah, that would have made way more sense.
He really wants that Enforcer to stay alive. Maybe he's thinking he's gonna damage this put it in Enforcer range, whereas Crossbowman can't deal any damage to it.
Why did you move the Grand Wizard like that? Because all it's done is it's let Dex go first. Aurelia's +1 power is going to take out the champion.
Yeah, I guess.
There you go. Okay, I did not see that block.
I think
coming.
Dex has conceded here.
That is a concede from Dex, which understandable, honestly.
Yeah, not much he can do from this position. Gravy's just taken so much and retained so much. He's just got so many units.
That was really well played by Gravy. He was doing stuff that I was looking at and I'm just like, I don't get it. What is it? And then a few moves later, just bam, there it is. Analyzing this formation for a minute, and we can see that Gravy's playing on the defender. Because some people at home are going to be like, wait, hold on, why did Dex concede? It doesn't seem that bad. He's still got the Great Hunter, it can take out the Crossbowman, the 2 healers, the debuffer, and even the Bull Elk. Well, the reason why is because Gravy's on defender. And with Gravy's formation right now, it's going to be virtually impossible for Dex to close in and take out these pieces without suffering losses on the remaining few attacking units he has left. And so all Gravy has to do right now is, because when you're a defender, your win condition is just to make sure that your opponent isn't holding the center. So Gravy just skips until round 7, and then right at the end of round 7, uses Grand Wizard to teleport Battering Ram right to center. Ram push, Ram takes center, and that's game.
Yeah, and this Battering Ram is still very difficult to deal with. Even though we have the break from the Norfang Sorcerer to remove that armor, it's just going to be really tough when you pretty much only have the Bull Elk, because this Norfang Great Hunter is going to die very soon.
I agree. A well-played game from both players, a very fast and exciting match, and as always, if you want to give this game a shot for yourself, it is currently free to play on Tabletop Simulator. Join our Discord server, and one of our fantastic community members, maybe even somebody in this video, will be happy to walk you through the game. I've been Speedrobo, and thank you very much for watching. Moonfassa, close us out.
Yeah, thanks Speedrobo for the intro, the outro. Always fantastic to cast with you. And until the next one, see you all later.
Bye.